But let's move on to the 5 takeaways and see what 5 things we can take away from the game, starting off with 1 all-action Cuti Romero.
Yeah, absolutely everywhere, Cuti Romero. Could have had a hat-trick yesterday with the amount of shots he had. Hit the post in the first half. Also had a header wide from a corner. He also beat Raya to a header from a Depay cross, which he headed over the bar before, obviously scoring himself. But that wasn't all with Cuti. 4 tackles on the day, second only to Depay. 5 of his 6 aerial duels won. 5 of his 8 ground duels won as well. He was just absolutely everywhere. 97% passing accuracy as well for Cuti Romero. He had an unbelievable display and was literally probably the best defender on the day, the best striker on the day as well, and probably the best player on the day.
Moving on to number 2, and that is aggressive Deki.
Yeah, and he was a shining light yesterday, Deki, but it wasn't just a lot of the good stuff he was doing on the ball, which was some really good stuff. 5 successful dribbles, 2 key passes on the day as well, which was more than anyone else on the Spurs team. 5 dribbles, which was more than anyone else on the pitch. So he was doing some really good stuff on the ball, off the ball though as well. Really, really aggressive and really set the tone for our pressing yesterday. 5 tackles, which is more than anyone else on the pitch. 13. He was involved in 22 duels, winning 13 of them as well, which showed his willingness to really get stuck in and really make sure that he was hounding the Arsenal defenders and maybe not giving them a moment's rest. And it was really, really, really impressed from Deki. I felt like in our attacking phase of play, he was the one really standing up to be counted, making sure that making it as difficult as possible for Arsenal, asking different questions on them on and off the ball. And again, similar to Cuti, I felt like if the other attackers were on Deki's level, could be a different game.
Yeah, I do still feel like he was a bit frustrating in the final third, which we'll talk about in the next topic. But from his general gameplay, absolutely brilliant. His best performance in a while in a Spurs shirt. They just couldn't handle him. They didn't know how to deal with him. He was coming inside and providing an option in midfield and just being a real nuisance to handle. His dribbling and ball carrying ability was on there for all to see yesterday. So hopefully this can kind of start a new wave of Deki kind of confidence, because he showed that confidence yesterday. It's just something he hasn't shown maybe in the last month or so. So let's hope that brings him back to form. But let's move on to number 3, and this is what I was talking about, but the final ball lacking.
Yeah, and yesterday was a key example again of our final quality in the final third just not really being there, and it's something that's cost us a lot this season. Yes, we have got goals from crosses this season. Brennan's been able to find a few assists, and so has Timo, but when it comes to consistency and as well against some of the better sides, it was definitely lacking. And yesterday, 72% possession, we had 34 crosses yesterday, 34 crosses on the day compared to I think 14 from Arsenal. Yeah, only 4 were successful. 4 out of 34, and when you're putting that level of crosses in the box, you need to at least be getting double figures when it comes to successful balls into the box. And the fact that only 4 were successful is an indictment on the lack of quality we showed in those positions, and especially in those last 20 minutes. If we had at least 1 or 2 successful crosses, could have easily gotten that late equaliser or back in the game sooner, and unfortunately we just didn't have that.
Moving on to the next one, number 4 is a first for Arsenal.
Yeah, and Arsenal obviously were under the cosh a lot. It's the first time this season that they've conceded 72% possession, and actually the first time this season as well they've conceded over 2 XG in any game this season in the Premier League, which is even more than frustrating. We couldn't take advantage of it. We also restricted Arsenal to 1.1 XG, which is one of their lowest tallies of the season, and it's frustrating that, obviously Spurs were dominant, but in open play we were very dominant, but those set pieces obviously was our undoing. But it goes to show how hard it is to create the level of chances we did yesterday, because it's the first time that they've conceded that amount of expected goals in any game, and the fact we didn't take full advantage of that is very frustrating.
And last but not least, 5th and final takeaway is top 4 hangs by a thread. I'll say top 4 hangs by a dead.
By a thread. Well, it's not completely gone yet until it's mathematically over. So with that, yesterday's defeat, even though Villa drew on Saturday night, they actually extended their points difference by a point, because with our loss, so we're now 7 points behind Villa with 2 games in hand. Obviously, one of them being on Thursday against Chelsea. So that really has become a must-win if we want any sort of chance of being in that top 4. If we do win, that does go to 4 good points behind with 1 game in hand. So then all of a sudden it doesn't look completely out of the question. But I do think, obviously, without a win on Thursday, I think you can pretty much kiss it goodbye, I would say. But that defeat very, very damaging for our hopes. And as well, it could easily get into a situation now where City need to win. Well, it's not there yet, but if Arsenal win their next 2 games, then it's going to be a situation where City have to beat us to overtake them with their game in hand. So it's going to be a very awkward situation.
Yep, it's not a situation that we haven't been in before. Cast your mind back to wanting Manchester United to beat us back in the 90s or early 2000s. I can't remember exactly what season it was. I think it happened on a multiple times of occasion, to be honest, in the Wenger days. But it's nothing that we're strangers to, wanting oppositions to beat us so Arsenal can't win the league, which is a sad story in itself. But in terms of top 4, I never really believed over the last couple of weeks that we were going to make it. I felt like it died at St James's Park. You can't lose 4-0 in that stage of a season and expect to go above a Villa team that are playing really well and getting consistent results. And Villa, they had a wobbly time of it 3 or 4 weeks ago, but they're getting consistent results at the moment. Yes, I know they drew with Chelsea and probably could have lost that game, but I'm looking at Villa and I see a team that wants it a lot more than this Tottenham side in terms of this top 4. Am I too bothered by it? Not really. I think this team is still showing progression. As long as we do show progression and keep showing progression next season, that's all that really matters to me. And I feel like I see some values being in the Europa League next season in terms of where this team is at anyway. But look, if we do make it, which I very much can't see it, then credit to the team. But I think it's just a pipe dream at this point, to be honest.
Well, the gap is 7 points. That massively obviously is in Villa's favour, but look, if we can win on Thursday, I think it changes things again. So we have to go to Stamford Bridge and win. I think that's the only course of action. Then obviously we go to Liverpool. Our Villa play Brighton away. Brighton aren't in the best form, but that's not going to be the easiest game. We'll have to wait and see if they win that one after Europe. And then after that, we play. We also play Burnley at home when they play Liverpool. So if we can easily get 3 points off them, 3-point jump there. So
Liverpool can't beat anyone at the moment. That's the reality, though.
Yeah, well, maybe we can beat them then.
Yeah, maybe we can beat them, but I think Villa might beat them as well. But we'll see, in terms of it comes down to it, though, in that Man City game, I'd prefer us to lose that Man City game than us having a hope of top 4 anyway. Yeah,
but that might not matter to the team. So we're looking at, regardless of that, whether we're going to get top 4 or not. And I don't think if we win on Thursday, I think there's still a chance it will happen.
Yeah, I disagree. I think it's gone. I think it's long gone.
4 points with the game in hand, you can't say it's gone in that position.
I just don't think that we have enough in us to go in a consistent run from now to the end of the season. And I don't think with Villa's 3 games left of the season, I don't think we'll get nowhere near enough points to finish above them. Nowhere near.
I think it all depends. It all rides on Thursday. I think we need to win.
Every week where we lose, you're like, maybe if this happens and that happens and this happens and this happens, we'll get top 4. I mean, if we don't get,
that's how football works.
If we don't get top 4, I don't think we have been good enough this season to get top 4. And that's just the reality of it.
I think if we get there, then we have been good enough.
Yeah, but I don't think we will get there. But anyway.